Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fantasy Filmball. My name is Matthew. With me here, I got Dylan. And today, we're going to be discussing that tricky number 10 slot in the Best Picture race right now. So, last week, we obviously had a whole bunch of craziness go on. We had the Golden Globes. We had the Critics' Choice Awards. We know so much more about the Best Picture race this week than we did last week. Dylan, do you want to sum up for us right here? Sum up for the viewers at home some of the developments that we've had in the past week, and what are we expecting now from the Oscars?
Honestly, the biggest thing I take away from the past week is I think there's a definitive top 9. And those 9 feel pretty safe. To run them down in no particular order, we have Way of Water, Banshees, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Maverick, Fabelmans, Elvis, Tar, Woman Talking, and Babylon. Yep. Those 9, they feel pretty secure, whether that is a Golden Globes nomination, a CCA, a NBR, an AFI. Almost every one of those movies at least hit 2, if not 3, if not all 4. What that brings us down to is that now, just like Matt said, tricky number 10 spot. Because in my eyes, there's 4 movies still hanging on, battling for that. Some other people may say, what about this movie? What about that movie? But to me, there's 4 movies for 1 spot. And that's what makes it so interesting, because each movie, I think, has a good case, but some cases are a little bit stronger than others.
Yeah, and just to recount everything, so Everything Everywhere made everything, right? It made AFI, NBR, Golden Globe, Critics' Choice. So did Banshees, so did Fabelmans, so did Avatar, so did Top Gun. Elvis missed 1. I know that, right? Because it made Golden Globe, it made Critics' Choice, but it
Elvis and Tar each missed 1.
Yeah, Elvis and Tar each missed 1. Then we've got Women Talking, which missed the Golden Globe nomination, which has set it back quite a bit. And then Babylon, which missed both AFI and NBR, but made Golden Globe and made Critics' Choice. So, that's 9 films right now. And obviously, when we say it seems pretty locked, it seems, but a ton could change. Yes. Things could change. We don't know that that's a locked 9, but at this point, it's looking pretty damn good for those 9 films. So what's number 10? Let's break it down. So, like Dylan said, the two of us see 4 films that could make it in, and then we'll kind of toss out some other ones that might be contenders. So the first one that we want to talk about here is The Woman King. So The Woman King, obviously, very, very well-reviewed film, especially by audiences. It's got that coveted A+ cinema score. It also got a Best Director nomination from the Critics' Choice Award. And it also landed on, was it on NBR or AFI? I know it was on one of those.
It got both.
It got both. Damn, it got both. That's really good for it. So yeah, it got both of those lists, but it missed the Critics' Choice Picture lineup, and it missed the Golden Globes. It was highly snubbed at the Golden Globes. So it's got some stuff going against it. It's got some stuff going for it. This film could get a lot of below-the-line nominations. And again, clearly has some stuff going on for it with it getting those NBR AFI nominations. What would you say is your argument for this film possibly being a contender?
For me, the biggest thing the Woman King needs to submit itself for that 10th spot is it needs the SAG Ensemble nomination. It needs Viola Davis to replace either Michelle Williams or Margot Robbie for that 5th slot. It needs some, like you said, below-the-line nominations, whether that is costumes, production design, hair and makeup. I don't think it has a chance for sound, but maybe sound. Those are really all the places where it could show up, plus obviously actress. But it's just a weird thing with this movie, because this is a movie, to me, it's felt like this for a while. If this came out in November, December, this is easily in the Best Picture lineup. It just came out so early. And all of its nominations are ones where it's borderline. It's not number 1 or number 2 in any of those categories. It's either 5 or 6 in all those categories, which it could either be 6 in all of them or be 5 in all of them. And it could end up getting 4 or 5 nominations, or it could get blank slated and get 0.
I think that's also the reason why this film went so late in the game. I'm just looking at it now, and Film Drunk got this film 7th overall. Not 7th overall, 7th round. this was the 41st film drafted. And that's not because the film didn't look good. It's because the film had a September release date, which is not a good look for a film to be released right after TIFF. So, yeah, I think I agree. I think this would have had more legs if it came out later. But really, above the line, this isn't getting a director nomination. This isn't getting a screenplay nomination. The most it can get is actress above the line. And is that enough to get into Best Picture? I don't know. And it hasn't been getting some of the critics' love that we're hoping for with a film like this. Missing Golden Globe, that's rough for a film as populist as this one. Missing the Critics' Choice picture lineup, especially after being in director. That's tough for a film like this. If it misses PGA, I think it's done. But that said, if it gets SAG Ensemble, if it gets PGA, this is a strong contender for that 10th spot.
Definitely. The Woman King is just so interesting to me because, like you mentioned there, you and I were not the highest on this movie before it came out. That September release date looked iffy. The marketing for the movie also looked a little bit hit or miss. But once the movie came out, we both switched our tune. We both were huge fans of this. And
it's
we're like,
great.
We
it's
want
so
this
good.
to do well. We just don't know, will it? And that's kind of what we've seen over the course of the season because it has hit big in BR, AFI. It's also missed big with CCA and Golden Globe. But one thing that keeps me like with a little hope with this is it did get into that CCA Director 10 lineup.
Yeah.
Does a lineup of 10 really help us? Not really, but the fact that this made it in over some of the other people who missed shows that some people really do like appreciate this movie, and it's definitely going to be in that either first or second like type movie missing out on the picture nomination. It's just, does it have enough passion to get over these other three that we're going to talk about?
It made it in over Joseph fucking Kosinski.
Mm-hmm.
That's showing something, that there is passion for this film. But is that passion going to be in the right place? Is it going to be in the Academy? I don't know.
Yeah, to me, this seems like the number 13 movie at the moment. This is like the last of this bunch that we're going to talk about here, but I
agree.
Can easily see this overperform, and it get in for Viola Davis. It gets in for costumes. It gets in for hair and makeup. And if the Academy really loves this movie, they could pull on 1917 and give this that 5th slot for original screenplay because Babylon could underperform. After Sun's just too indie for them. Triangle of Sadness isn't their thing. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I would say it's definitely in that lineup of 10 for original screenplay, but it's not like number 5 or number 6 in my eyes at the moment.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. I think that there's a world where this vastly overperforms, but I just don't think it's this world. So we said this is number 13. I want to move to number 12. And in my mind, I know a lot of people are going to strongly disagree with me on this, but I still see a strong narrative despite the fact that it missed Golden Globe and Critics' Choice. Critics' Choice it almost missed entirely, which is really, really brutal. She Said is the next one that I have kind of going on here. What's the argument for this one? I mean, it missed Critics' Choice basically entirely. It almost entirely missed Golden Globes, except for getting Carey Mulligan the nomination there. Did it get... It got one of the supporting actors.
It just has AFI. That's all it has this award season. It has AFI, and it has Mulligan at Golden Globes, like you said. And it's like you said, on paper, this is a very hard sell. It's a very hard case to make because you can also bring in the claims, this bombed at the box office. No one cares about this movie. But this movie just seems so much like what they would do. And I understand the whole, like I just said, it bombed. It's missing out at MBR. It's missing out at Golden Globes. It's missing out at CCA. But Mulligan getting in at Globes and like it getting nothing else there still shows me signs that people do care about this movie. They care about her. And for its Oscar case, it needs Mulligan. It needs adapted.
Which is it's a lock for adapted screenplay.
And it probably needs something else, and that's where I could maybe see a Nicholas Britell love for the score come in.
Yeah.
Get that 5th slot. Just scores is such a tough category this year. I don't know if it can get in there. She Said to me has always been that either 10th or 11th movie throughout the whole season. It just bounces up and down depending on what the other movies seem like, and I'm just not ready to give up on it yet. I know all the signs are saying move away from She Said, but She Said also could just be that movie that just sticks around all season long. Most people who see this movie, they don't outright hate it, they don't outright love it, but they give it very strong 7s, very light 8s, very mid to high 8s. This is a movie I think could play very well across a lot of ballots, being a lot of people's numbers 9s, a lot of people's numbers 10s, where some of these other movies we're talking about could be their number 2s or 3s, but also could just miss their list entirely.
This is a film that I actually see doing very well with guilds when we get into the industry awards. Keep in mind, this is a film built for industry. This is a film patting the backs of voters for being like, hey, good job, we're done with Weinstein, we fixed the problem. This film's going to perform much better with guilds than it ever was going to with the HFPA, with the Critics' Choice Association. This is going to really, I think the test is going to be, does Carey Mulligan get that SAG nomination? Does this film get in WGA happens after the Oscar nomination, so it's useless anyways. But is this film getting into some of those guilds? Specifically, is it making it in at PGA? If it makes the PGA 10, that is extremely good for this film. But that said, it's not looking likely right now. It is dropping fast. But I think the reason why I just keep hanging on to this film is that it really feels like it's going to appeal to voters. The narrative is so strong. Yes, they have really dropped the goddamn... Universal has completely fucked up this campaign. Completely fucked it up.
I mean, they've messed up everyone's campaign that they have this year, whether it is Fabelmans or She Said, or even Nope for that extent as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a disaster. Like, there's no reason why this film should have been such an enormous flop and why it should have missed these different awards. With the reviews that the film has, with the subject matter of this film, it's really odd that this film is flopping as much as it is in awards season. Because it's an important topic that obviously Hollywood is going to want to talk about. So, but I don't know. It's falling. Maybe it's generous to have this at number 12. Maybe it should be below The Woman King at this point.
Yeah, I would say if you look at the stats, it should be below Woman King, but you and I, like we've mentioned here, we just had this feeling that it is going to perform a little bit better. It has a guaranteed screenplay nomination, which I think a guaranteed screenplay bodes better than a possible hair, a possible costumes, a possible production, a possible actress. Well, like we mentioned before, Woman King could get like 5 nominations, or it could get 0. She said the minimum is getting 1, and I think Carey Mulligan's pretty, I don't want to say safe, but she seems pretty good. But that
especially in
so
that
weird.
Shit show of a category.
Yes.
It's not on her if she misses. It's just that the category is a disaster.
This next movie, though, has someone that I think could be the case to either knock out Carey Mulligan or keep Carey Mulligan in, because this next movie really has a lot that could go for it, but also kind of like The Woman King has a lot that could just not happen.
Yeah, Glass Onion. It's an interesting one to think of because this film does not feel like an Oscars movie. And I know that we say that all the time with films that are very much Oscar movies. I know that's the whole argument people keep leveling against Everything Ever All at Once. It doesn't feel like an Oscar movie. But what I mean by that is that Glass Onion is such light entertainment. It is such excellent, breezy entertainment that it's a bit odd thinking of this as, I don't know, it is just a very fun cinematic thrill ride. I don't know, and it kind of, I guess something that has been hurting it all year long and preventing me from putting it in Best Picture is that Knives Out, the first one, which got similar if not better reviews than this one, it only made it into screenplay. And I guess my question is, what can Glass Onion get outside of picture and screenplay? And I guess that the answer there is Janelle Monáe. We saw it got costumes at the Critics' Choice Award. I don't think that will happen again. But maybe production design. Outside of that, though, there's not a lot of nom potential for this film.
Yeah. The one thing, though, I know is what everyone's been preaching all year, and you and I have kind of ignored, but now it's becoming more and more clear. Netflix doesn't really miss. This is Netflix's horse. It has NBR. It has AFI. It has Golden Globe comedy. Just the issue where I see is it missed a screenplay at Golden Globe. Janelle Monáe missed for supporting actress, which I feel like they would have been a guaranteed win if they were in that category. And this film has just been missing just weird nominations throughout the season, but also it's been picking up weird ones as well, like that random costumes nomination at CCA. This is one that I think is going to come down to nomination morning. They normally always start with supporting actress. So I feel like we get our answer right away. Janelle Monáe's there. Glass Onion, I think, is in. Carey Mulligan's there. It comes down to the next movie we talk about, or She Said. If neither are there, it's the next movie we talk about.
Like you said, it's Netflix, and is Netflix going to miss? Something that I definitely have said in the past couple of weeks is filmmakers miss, studios don't. So it's always more important to look at the studios behind films instead of looking at the filmmakers behind films. Because, this year we see Empire of Light, like, fucking... what? And people were predicting that based kind of on Searchlight, but also based on Sam Mendes. And filmmakers disappoint us, studios don't, because Searchlight still has Banshees. So it's not like Searchlight just doesn't have a film in. And yeah, I guess Netflix maybe doesn't flop. So we'll see.
We will see. But this next movie, this is the one where I feel like a lot of people were really doubting, you and I included, and now it's really showing its strength. It's showing its power. It's showing its might these last few weeks. It's hit at a lot of big places. And that movie is RRR. Do you want to talk about why we both have this in as our number 10 spot at the moment?
Well, let's just talk about the trajectory of this film. It got director at the New York Film Critics Circle, and that's what started this whole avalanche. Director, New York Film Critics Circle. Runner-up for director, Los Angeles Film Critics Circle. Following that, it landed on the NBR Top 10. Following that, it missed AFI, but then at the Golden Globes, it got nominated for Best Song and Best International Feature, where it's going to win. That's not an overperformance. It could have shown up in comedy musical, but it didn't. But then at the Critics' Choice Awards, this is where it's really gotten real. It got the VFX nomination. It got the song nomination. It got a director nomination. Yes, in a field of 10, but that's still a mention. It's still going to be visible to Oscar voters. It's showing them, take this film seriously, watch this film. And then, the big shocker, it got into the picture lineup. Also, not to mention, it also got international film there. So right now, we're seeing a scenario where RRR is being watched. It's being talked about. The campaign is working. And the argument right now for it making picture is it can make PGA. It can overperform again at BAFTA, for example. And it can continue getting these nominations. Critics groups are going to keep giving it Best Director. It's going to keep popping up there. It is looking like, if not 5th place for director, it's 6th place for director. It is, like, right in there. And if it gets director, that means it has the visibility to get a picture push. So, I think the argument here is that it just has consistency in nominations. Yes, they're not very big nominations, but it's going to keep getting song. It's going to keep getting international feature. It's going to keep getting all of those all the way to a possible Oscar nomination. I mean, look at Drive My Car last year. Drive My Car, it won the trifecta, but it didn't get NBR. It didn't get AFI. It only got international feature at the Critics' Choice Awards. It only got international feature at the Golden Globe Awards. So already, RRR is doing better as an international film. It has the visibility to make it in. But the question is, will it? Can it push all the way? Or is it just going to max out at, like, song and VFX, and that's it?
That's the real question, because at the end of the day, like you said, song seems pretty likely at the moment. It hasn't missed everywhere. There's been a consistent 4 at most places, and Not To from RRR has been there. VFX this year seems like it has room for something like this. Is it the best part of the movie? Maybe, maybe not, but it's a place for people to really who love this movie.
It's fun.
To nominate it, to give it more visibility, to be at scenes. That's 2 nominations that we see there. Mm-hmm. Director's another thing. Just the case of director this year is director's kind of a tough category. And I know I mentioned this to you before. I feel like RRR has a better chance for a picture nomination than a director nomination. I feel like if it shows up in director, it's 100% in picture, but it can make picture without director, where normally it's the other way around, where like last year people were saying, oh, Hamaguchi seems more likely for director than picture. It got both. This year, Rajamouli seems like it could get in, but it also seems like it could miss.
And let's think about who would be voting for this film. It's action filmmakers. It is like studio executives. It's people that want S.S. Rajamouli to keep them in his good books because they want him in Hollywood. They want to steal this man from Tollywood. They want to take him and bring him to Hollywood and put some of that goddamn Rajamouli magic into Hollywood cinema. So, really, the interesting thing here is, yes, it's not looking like it's going for a lot of nominations. It's not getting cinematography. It's not getting editing. It's not getting sound. It's not getting all of those things that we would typically see a blockbuster get. It's getting song, VFX, possibly director, possibly picture. And that's possible. That package is possible because the people who are voting for this are producers, executives, and directors. And producers and executives, their branch does not vote for anything except Best Picture. So we can totally see this film get in here without a whole lot of other support.
Yes, and that's why you and I both have RRR as our current 10th slot. But the last question I want to ask you here before we move out of this topic is, if this was not a normal year of 10, how many movies get in for picture, and which movies are them? Because to me, I think this would be a year of 9. Okay, you're 8, I'm 9.
I'd say Babylon gets snubbed.
Okay. I would include Babylon at this moment. I could see that changing in the coming weeks, but at least at this moment, I feel like it has the next technical support to make it in, but I also could see Babylon misses 8.
Yeah. No, I could see Babylon completely missing. But that said, like, it's so interesting now having that fixed 10 because we see a lot more possibility and in that way a lot more disappointment. Because some of these films that have just like small but very passionate groups behind them, those are the films that we're going to get our hopes up about, that normally we would just go, there's no chance. But right now, like, I can see myself going into Oscar morning being like, yes, RRR is going to be there. It's going to be there. It's going to be there. And then being heartbroken. Like, last year, I convinced myself that Drive My Car was not happening because I didn't want to feel the pain of it missing. But I don't know. Maybe I'll get my hopes up this year. Or maybe not. Maybe I'll keep my expectations low so that I'm not disappointed no matter what.
Well, everyone out there, let us know what movies you're keeping your hopes a little bit lower on so you don't get disappointed on Oscar morning. But until next time, my name is Dyl.
And my name is Matt, and this is Fantasy Filmball.